Support for this episode comes from EdgePark. Life is busy and managing diabetes is a daily, sometimes hourly commitment. Well, EdgePark can help you say goodbye to the worry of managing your diabetes supplies with a variety of cutting-edge insulin delivery systems from brands like Medtronic and Tandem. Plus, EdgePark accepts most insurance plans and handles the paperwork, so you can simplify your life, your diabetes care, and your budget in one click. Go to diabetes-connections.com and click on the EdgePark logo.
This is Diabetes Connections with Stacey Sims.
This week, the newest pump coming to the U.S. market is called the twiist. It's very different shape, circular with a top half that twists off, and it has very different software, Tidepool Loop. The company behind this pump, they're called Sequel, wants to be different as well, hoping to offer solutions to bigger issues than basal and bolus rates. It's very ambitious. I have a wide-ranging conversation about it all with Sequel's CEO. This podcast is not intended as medical advice. If you have those kinds of questions, please contact your healthcare provider. Welcome to another week of the show. I am always so glad you're here. I am your host, Stacey Sims, and you know we aim to educate and inspire about diabetes with a focus on people who use insulin. As you listen, I am just back from Mom's Night Out Chicago. As I'm taping, I'm just about to head out there. I'm nervous. I'm excited like I always get before these events. I still cannot believe I somehow became an event planner, but man, is it worth it. These events are just a dream come true. And our next two are coming up in the fall. We will be in Denver in September and Philadelphia in October. You can head on over to diabetes-connections.com, click on the Mom's Night Out tab to learn more and to sign up for our list to be the first to know about our next locations coming in 2025. Okay, I'll be straight with you. This is a long interview coming up. So let's get to it. I'll be brief here, but there are a couple of things you just need to know to set this up. The FDA announced clearance for the twiist pump, that is twiist with two eyes, just last month. I was really excited to talk to Dr. Alan Lotvin. He is the CEO of Sequel, and that is the company created basically around this device. Now, the hardware for this pump was created by DECA, that is Dean Kamen's company. He is the inventor of the Segway, the little vehicle that you stand up and ride around on. And he's also the inventor of the first really portable insulin pump. And so many more things. I could do shows upon shows just about Dean Kamen, and I do hope to speak to him someday. That would be great. And the software used in this pump is Tidepool Loop. There's so much to talk about here today. I'm not going to go through what Loop is. We don't spend a lot of time talking about the software here, other than, yes, it can correct down to a blood sugar of 87, which makes it the lowest correction range out there. I know that's something a lot of you have been waiting for and are interested in. We did do a whole episode about Tidepool Loop when it got FDA approval, so you can listen to that. I will link that up in the show notes for all of the information about the software that is in this pump. We do talk about the hardware, the company, the ambitious goals for Sequel. I do have images of the product, and I have Dr. Alan Lotvin showing it on video. So I will link that up as well. You can check it out on our YouTube channel or, on social media. All right, a deep dive into the twiist right after this. I've been talking about integration for years, and it's just been wonderful to see it all happening. Dexcom G6 is part of Tandem Diabetes Control IQ system and part of the Omnipod 5 system. My son has been using Control IQ for more than 4 years now. These systems are really amazing. He sleeps better, and the system has his back when he doesn't get his meal bolus exactly right. As a mom, I will never stop worrying, but I worry a lot less. We all just think about diabetes less, which is really amazing. Learn more, go to diabetes-connections.com and click on the Dexcom logo. Dr. Alan Lotvin, welcome to Diabetes Connections. We are excited to talk to you and learn more about this. Really appreciate you being here.
Thank you. I'm really excited to talk with you and your listeners about some really exciting things in the field and in the space.
We have so many questions. I'm going to start out with probably the dumbest one, but it's the first thing I thought when I saw the news release on this. How do we pronounce this product?
Twiist. The second I is just silent, and we called it twiist because when you see the device, it opens up, it twists open the best way to describe it is like an Oreo cookie. You open the Oreo and you eat the inside, it just opens up that way. And we thought it was both a descriptive name, but it's also a not too intimidating name. I didn't really want to have a string of numbers and letters, and we just wanted to make this an approachable product for people.
I love it. Longtime listeners will know that I have a pet peeve about all these numbers, and I like when companies keep cool names. So we're off to a great start. But tell me kind of high level. We're going to go through some of the details on it. But what is different about this pump and this system? It's an AID system, right?
Yep. So there's a lot of things that are different. I'll try not to blather for too long. But so first, from a technology perspective, this is the only device that directly measures how much insulin is delivered every time it fires. And we can talk about what difference that makes. At the simplest thing is if it's not delivering, right, because there's a kink in the line, or we know it, right? We know it. And if you look in the FDA filings, we know it faster than anyone else. It has no motors, no gears, no syringes. It's essentially a solid state device. It's also the smallest device that holds 3 cc's and can still be attached to the skin. So we have a little proprietary adhesive that allow you to wear it discreetly, but still hold 3 cc's of fluid. That's sort of the very high level technology. It's controlled by an iOS controller, an iOS app. Also control, you can do bolusing off the Apple Watch, so it's got that integration as well. And then the other thing I think that's really, from a technology perspective, that's important is we're using the Loop algorithm. And, as you know, Loop algorithm made by people with diabetes, for people with diabetes. This is, an out-of-the-box solution, right? You don't have to have a dongle and a dingle and a wongle and a wingle and, have a degree in electrical engineering to connect it. It works. And it's FDA cleared. I've been talking to people. I think the flexibility of the Loop algorithm is incredible, but it's not overwhelming in the sense that you don't have to use every feature. It's not, you can let the flashlight, the 12 flash on the VCR to use a very, very dated reference. I just told you how old I was.
I'm with you. Don't worry. I got it.
But, like some things I think are really interesting are the ranges of glucose that you can set, 87 to 180. The food emojis I thought were really, really cool. And then the other thing that I think is going to be, and again, I have to prove this, but, if you think in the GLP era where people may be using multiple, your ability to eat kind of varies on GLP-1s. I have a bunch of friends who are using it. And so you have the ability to retrospectively reduce your carbs. You're not held hostage to the pump based on something you did or said, 20 minutes ago or an hour ago or whenever. You can actually adjust the pump so that you're not adjusting your life to the pump. You can adjust the pump and the algorithm to your life. And that idea of personalization is really important to us.
I want to put a pin on that and follow up a little bit later about the GLP discussion. That's really interesting. But I know we can't go through every nook and cranny of this device. And I'm not sure exactly how much you can tell us, but I'm really curious if you could speak a little bit more to the hardware, because there's no piston, right? There's no little parts in there. Yeah. Can you tell us a little bit more then of kind of the concept of how it works?
Yeah, so the sort of magic sauce of this thing is we have a chamber that measures fluid, and it does it in an amazing fashion, right? I'm sure you've blown across a Coke bottle when you were a kid, or maybe in college a beer bottle, and then drank a little bit and then blew again and you had a lower tone. I won't go through the physics of it, although it's amazing. But it turns out if the container is rigid, the only thing that matters is the height of the air column, or the size of the air column. And so we have a chamber, right? And we seal that chamber off, and we literally blow a pulse, a sound. We have a microphone and speaker, and we measure it. Then we open up a valve, and insulin flows in from a reservoir. The insulin flows in, it's basically just flows in. It's got some pressure on it. Then I close the valve, and there's a membrane in there that gets deformed, and I measure the air again, and now I have a new number. Then I open the valve to the patient, and because the membrane's deformed, it has a little bit of pressure, it flows out. I close the valve and I measure it again. I subtract that last measurement from the middle measurement, and that's exactly how much we gave into microliters, millions of a liter of accuracy. And so the pumping mechanism is less important because we're controlling the delivery by adjusting the valves. And we're measuring every single time. Like, that's the thing that's so cool to me. If I open the valve and nothing goes out, I know it immediately. Now, I'm obviously not going to set an alarm off. Like, that would be ridiculous. We wait a period of time that's physiologically safe versus, if you look at some of the other devices at a normal flow rate, and this is out of the FDA, it can take 3 hours before it alarms. Now, 3 hours of no insulin, that's the problem, right? And if it's at low flow rates, like in a kid, it can be even longer. So it's a completely different thought process about how a pump works. If you think about the way most of the pumps on the market work, it's some form of a high precision motor, like a screw pump that's, slowly moving a plunger 2 centimeters over 3 days. And that's actually the technology that was in, Dean Kamen's original pump in like 1979. And don't get me wrong, it's better than like doing this with your thumb. There's no question about it that the current pumps on the market were better than infusion. But I think as the algorithms get better, as the CGMs get better, we thought there was an opportunity to bring more modern technology to the actual delivery device. That's kind of the way the thing works.
Yeah, that's great. And I assume that for those of you listening who are really into the physics of it and want a lot more, that you can look into this in the filings, right? Everybody can go through.
It's in the patent office.
Yeah.
So it's
the people, some of my listeners will go find this. So they're very into it.
For those people, start off with the Helmholtz oscillator and then work your way back to the physics of sine waves.
I love it.
Anyway.
It went by quickly, but you mentioned wearing this. This is a tubed pump, but you can wear it. You can wear it on your body. Can you show me or talk to me through that? Yeah.
So we have a little adhesive, and the adhesive has a little clip. You can't really see it, but it's got a little lip, and it just clips right in there. And then what we like about the ability to see the site and move it if you want without losing the insulin, right? Because the pump is in 2 pieces. There's a top piece that has kind of the brains and the battery. And then there's a bottom piece that has the insulin and this magic measurement chamber. And the top piece you reuse, and the bottom piece you can discard when it's empty. But if you put the pump on and you wanted to move it, let's just say you suddenly got invited to a wedding and you were going to wear a strapless gown and you wanted to take it off your arm and sort of hide it in the bra strap of the dress, that would work. So we just like to give people options on how to wear it. I think the ability to see the site is also helpful if you want to have long duration sites, if you want to move it around. If it gets hit, right, you're not throwing away insulin and all the other stuff. So like everything in life is, has its pros and cons, right? We're trying to create choice for people that you can still wear it and hide it discreetly. You don't need to have a belt or a pocket. And you get 3 cc's. Don't forget, you get 3 cc's. So you can wear it and still have 3 cc's. So again, different people have different things that they're most focused on.
The diabetes community is quite creative, and people find ways to wear things how they want to wear things. The one thing that makes me think of this so far is I think of the Mobi, which just came out, right? And that's like a tubed pump that you can wear with a clip or in a sleeve or in your pocket. Is this similar to that? Am I thinking of this the right way?
Yeah, I think you're thinking of it the right way. Again, I think, the couple of things that are different is the form factor is it's a little bit smaller. It's 3 cc's, but still has 3 cc's. I think the patch attachment doesn't have any corners or edges or things to catch. So, yeah, I think of it similarly, but again, holding more insulin.
Right. It's a different, obviously, totally different product, but just in terms of those options of wearing it.
Yeah.
Okay.
This is a circle, so it's like, the physics of a circle, of a sphere, it's the biggest volume at the smallest surface area. I've walked around with this thing, and that little coin pocket in the fifth pocket in jeans,
right? It
fits in that pocket, at least in men's jeans. I don't wear women's jeans that often, so I can't comment on it. But in men's jeans, it definitely fits in there. We have a bunch of people walking around now wearing the adhesive attachment and kind of demonstrating that it's really comfortable. We're going to do some really cool cosmetic things with the adhesives as well that I think will be fun for people. Again, like we said, like one of the women who's been wearing it went to a 3-day wedding. Sounded like a great party to me. But she had 3 different outfits, right? And just basically moved the pump around to accommodate the outfits. Like left the insertion site where she wanted it, where she knew she'd be able to, and just move the pump around to, depending on whether she had a jacket or whether it was sleeveless. We've had we showed one of the diabetes educators a device at a recent, and she's so excited about it. And at that point, we hadn't quite, this goes back a couple of months, we hadn't quite finished the adhesive yet. She's like, I don't care, I'll just stick it in my bra. And so I think people be creative, and the form factor and the shape allows that creativity.
We've talked about this as a tubed pump. Is this going to be like standard Convatec infusion sets, the ones that people are used to and familiar with, or is this something new? Right back to our conversation. But first, Diabetes Connections is sponsored by Gvoke HypoPen. Diabetes management can be complicated. Treating a very low blood sugar should be as simple as possible. And that's why we keep Gvoke HypoPen on hand. Gvoke HypoPen is a ready-to-use rescue pen for treating very low blood sugar in people with diabetes ages 2 and above. If you take insulin or sulfonylureas, you are at risk for your blood sugar going too low. Low blood sugar emergencies can happen unexpectedly, and they demand quick action. You need a safety net when it matters most. Be ready to treat a very low blood sugar with Gvoke HypoPen. Find out more, go to gvokeglucagon.com/Stacy. That's gvokeglucagon.com/STACEY. Gvoke should not be used if you have a tumor in the gland on top of your kidneys called pheochromocytoma, or if you have a tumor in your pancreas called insulinoma. Visit gvokeglucagon.com/risk for safety information.
So our initial clearance is with the Clio set and available in several different lengths. And I would say we completely understand the desire for choice. And so we'll be adding options, including, I think, in the future, a proprietary option that I think people will really like.
Because I've said, and I'm not alone in this, we all say this, that the infusion set is the weak link of pumping. They leak, they jam, they break, cannulas get bent. So I know you're looking at that.
Yeah, no, we have several sets that are in our IFU. We're shipping the device with the Clio included. People don't have to keep the Clio. Like, you can get a version without the Clio if you want to use your own set. And then, like I said, we completely agree with you on the need for innovation in the infusion set. And we have a really, really cool one that's at the FDA right now that I can't obviously say a lot about because it's at the FDA. But, we're super excited about it. And many of the things that you just rattled off as concerns, we've tried to address in this device.
That's fantastic. And we will definitely follow up. Thanks for sharing that with us. Let's talk about this as an AID system. First of all, CGM, what does this work with? I mean, it's Tidepool Loop, so I assume Dexcom.
Great question. So there's a couple of things about the AID system. The clearance is with the G6. Now full disclosure, we're working with both companies. We have to get all our commercial agreements in place, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. You know how this works. The difference in this pump is we're using the Tidepool algorithm, but we've taken the Loop algorithm and we've actually embedded it on the device. So it doesn't go through the phone. So the pump talks directly to the CGM, runs the algorithm on the device. So if your phone dies, if you walk away from your phone, you're still in AID mode. And you can still bolus. Actually, there's a little bolus button on this. So even if your phone's, you can still give a bolus right on the device. You can't make other changes. Like, there's no screen on the device. You need the phone to control and make changes in the algorithm, but you can manage an AID mode without the phone nearby. So with that, we again, recognizing that choice is important to people. We're hopeful to be able to have as many possible choices as we can.
That's great. And to the point of having a button on the pump itself, are there any indicators of, are there any alerts, alarms, that sort of thing on the pump itself, or those would all be in the phone?
Yeah, so the pump will audibly alarm in a number of different scenarios, and you can customize what it alarms for to a degree, right? Critical alarms, it's going to go off. The answer to that is a qualified yes. The pump has alarms, but again, it's letting you know that you better take a look at, something's going on. You need to take a look at your.
I'm thinking of my son, right? He's like, whoa, I don't need to bring my phone anywhere with me. Great. I'm leaving the house. I got my CGM. I got my twiist. I'm out of here. And, he's 19. He's a great kid. But he's 19. He needs alerts and alarms on the pump itself. So I'm sure the FDA wants you to do that as well, not just moms. But I had to ask.
Yeah, no, it's a good question. And, we've spent a lot of time thinking about what's the right amount of information that's easily absorbable and easily usable, but not overwhelming for both people living with diabetes and caregivers, parents.
Yeah.
So parents or other caregivers, so that if you get an alarm, you know it's something you need to deal with.
All right, I got a bunch more questions about the pump itself, but I want to take a little sidetrack here and just ask you, in 2018, I was part of a group of bloggers that was invited. I was a podcaster, but I was in the blogger group. I was invited to Cambridge to learn about a new pump that DECA was working on with Lilly, which looks a lot like what is the twiist. I'm assuming this is the same pump hardware or, improved since that time. Do you mind? And I don't know if you can answer this, Alan, so I'll ask it and you tell me. Can you tell us kind of what happened here? Because we know Lilly got out of the picture, but how did this kind of come to be? Tell me the story.
I wish I knew the whole story. If I was going to make a guess, right? And again, what I would say is that being a device company for a drug company is scary, right? And my guess is that as Lilly was doing their portfolio review in 2017 or 2018, they saw these things called GLP-1s and said, hey, you know what? These things look pretty easy. We know how to do this, right? And this whole device thing, this seems hard, right? And I suspect it was just I'm going to guess it was just mostly a portfolio allocation decision to say, we want to focus on GLP-1s and neuroscience and oncology.
Right.
And again, I can't tell you that's a bad decision for Lilly. I mean, look at it. It's a $700 billion company now based on GLP-1. So I suspect that's most of it. Again, I don't really know all of the details.
Sure. And I appreciate you taking a guess. What I was thinking was, how does DECA then come to be Sequel and Tidepool?
So this device is also on the market right now with United Therapeutics under the brand name Remunity. And so, DECA has licensed the device for use, right? So when Lilly decided they didn't want to use it, DECA could license it to someone else.
Well, and that's part of the story that I don't think has ever been told. And I'd love to talk to, we'll see if I can ever talk to Dean Kamen, but I had reached out to DECA a few times and did not get any kind of response. And it felt like in the diabetes community that this kind of came out of nowhere, right? Usually we see devices, we see them build up for a few years and then they're submitted and there's clinical trials. So this was a little bit of a surprise, a great one, right? Really cool stuff is happening. But I was curious, obviously the hardware was sitting there.
Oh, it hasn't been sitting there. I mean, it's been being continually improved. And I think the other part, we were intentionally kind of quiet about what we're doing because there's no reason to talk about it, right? And when we think about how to bring this device to market, we're not just thinking about technology innovation. We're also thinking about how do we bring the device to market? How do we make life better for people living with diabetes? So we've thought a lot about, we're going to go through the pharmacy channel. We are going to wrap around enough ancillary support for people to make life better. And I know that's an aggressive statement. For example, getting started. One of the challenges people have with every drug, not just AIDs, is that it's hard to get started. People always leave, even just plain pills and tablets and capsules, they leave them at the pharmacy and don't pick it up. So we want to make it easy. So if a doc calls and schedules a training, our trainer will show up with the starter kit, everything you need to get started, except insulin and the CGM, and then just call in a refill prescription. And so really make it easy. What we want to help our patients know, if you have challenges of any sort, just call us. We'll help you figure it out. And it can even be something as simple as, my insulin comes on Tuesday, my CGM comes every third Friday, and your pump supplies come on Wednesday. Can you consolidate those? I have a little bit of a background in pharmacy. We can figure out how to help you consolidate those. I mean, it may take a few months, but we can help you get them lined up. We've really thought about the service model. We've gone as far, and we've been building this team, and we've told everyone, look, we think this is going to be an incredibly successful company and great. And we've told our investors you're all going to do well. But at the end of the day, what we told everyone was, if you're going to come here, recognize that almost everyone we're hiring better have a real purpose-driven kind of reason for coming here. Because at some point, there's going to be a decision that might be great to make a lot of money, but it's not going to be great for patients. And we're always going to choose what's right for patients. As we get closer to market and we start talking about our pricing strategies, you'll see how that comes through. This could have easily been a premium price product based on everything about it. And we chose to not premium price it. And part of that is because, and to be honest, I spent 27 years of my life trying to lower the cost of healthcare in this country. I wasn't going to change that. So I'm super excited about the people we brought on. We brought on a lot of people in our company are living with diabetes. They're excited to use this device themselves. They give us great feedback on features and things that are working well and things that they don't like. And, so that's where we are.
A couple of follow-ups there, but I do need to ask, what insulin does this pump use or will this pump use? Is it proprietary at all or are there?
Yeah, so the first clearance was with Humalog, and we anticipate, let's just say we're working on Novolog right now, and the only reason for the difference in timing was just we had to let some of the insulin age. Just it's like a fine wine aging in a cellar. So
wait a minute, what did you just say?
One of the things the FDA asked us to do, again, not unreasonably, was to demonstrate stability and performance with old insulin.
How old?
I don't know the exact date, but all I know
expired
is
insulin? Expired insulin?
No,
okay.
Close to expired.
Close to expired. I've never heard anybody talk about this.
It's not an unreasonable question on the FDA. I mean, we can debate whether it's unreasonable or not.
I think it's a great question. I think it's a fabulous thing to test.
And so we didn't fight it. We just said, okay. Now, it turns out it's really, really, really hard to get old insulin. You can't just you can't call up and say, hey, can I get insulin that's 2 months away from like no one holds it, right? So we actually just had to buy it and stick it in a refrigerator and just, it's like wine.
That's very funny. Okay, so let me talk. I really look forward to talking to you again when this is launched, and I hope we can continue this conversation. I live in North Carolina, so I'm going to start this question out by saying, bless your heart with the thought of making this simple. And your Dexcom comes on Thursday, and your insulin comes on Tuesday. Wait a minute. What's that?
I know it, bless your heart.
Yeah. Well, let me ask my question. So we know that, and I appreciate everything you've done. You were the president of CBS Caremark for a long time, the PBM. You know how complicated this is. My son has had type 1 diabetes for 17 years. I have had amazing health insurance. I currently buy my own insurance on the marketplace, so I have all different levels. And I'm super lucky to have great coverage and to be able to afford stuff. I don't understand, let me put it this way. How on earth is a pump company going to do that? Because Alan, man, this is people with diabetes. I just met a guy in a gas station parking lot who I do not know and gave him insulin because he couldn't get a refill. He's 27 years old. He's aged out of his parents' insurance. He's doing his best. He's got a job. He he called his doctor for a refill on Wednesday. The pharmacy said, sorry, we can't fill it. The doctor wasn't there on Friday and he was out. So I met him. I do this all the time. I run a parenting group in Charlotte and we help each other out with Dexcom, with Libre, with pump supplies. I really want to believe you, but tell me more.
It can't solve every problem in the world. Like things have a cost. But like I said, I firmly believe that we could have premium priced this product and would have had a ton of utilization. And we chose to price it in a way that lowers the list price, right? So for people who are exposed to the list price, either through their deductibles, through a percent copay, or because they're paying cash, have the lowest price that we could come up with, or the lowest price on the market. We made sure that the net cost, after everything is taken into account, is the lowest for the payers. In terms of insulins, from my perspective, you could probably have a reasonable discussion about whether faster acting insulins are more or less likely to create better outcomes in an AID system. But the reality is the first thing to do is get some insulin. One of my favorite lines is the enemy of good is perfect. For example, we incorporated the infusion sets into our convenience kit. The entire kit is still lower priced on the pharmacy benefit, or will be lower priced than anything else, including an infusion set, right? Your question's a good one. And what I would tell you is we're doing our part to keep therapy affordable. I think there has been a lot of motion, as you know, on insulin pricing, and I expect that that's going to continue to evolve over, especially for quote unquote regular insulin over the next couple of years.
Just real quick on that, you mentioned pharmacy. So infusion sets at the pharmacy, which is new.
It's even better than at the pharmacy, Stacey. It'll be in the box, literally in the box. Like you're going to get a box. The box is going to have 10 cassettes, our cassettes, 10 infusion sets, 10 needles, 10 syringes, 10 wipes, all in one box.
But I get that at my pharmacy. I get that mail order. I get that.
Right now, we're going to go through the pharmacy channel.
Great.
Right? So retail pharmacy, if people want to put it in their mail order pharmacy, I'm fine with that. We really thought of it as a convenience kit, make it easy for people.
Yeah.
But to your point, and again, it's not, I don't know that DME is intrinsically harder than anything else. It's just one more thing, right? So your pharmacy, there's 62,000 pharmacies, right? It's a pretty easy, you throw a rock, you're going to break a pharmacy window, right? From my perspective, from a patient access and, making, like, the whole idea is like, how do you make life a little bit better? Like, think about your son. Like when your son has unexplained hyperglycemia, you got really three choices. One, I have a problem with the pump. Two, I have a problem with the set. Three, I have a problem with my son. He didn't put the
right. I know
carbs
exactly
in
what you mean.
right.
Yep. Human error.
He had 2 milks. He's 19. He drank 3 milkshakes instead of 2. What we want to say is, okay, I can't fix all 3 of those, but I can tell you for sure whether or not the pump is delivering insulin. And I can tell it to you pretty darn close to real time. I'd call it 19 minutes, I think is what's in our IFU. If your son is using our device, using the Loop algorithm, and he eats either more or less, he can adjust the carbohydrate load retrospectively. So you don't just have to guess. And like I said, we don't have an answer for infusion sets yet, but we're definitely cognizant of what the infusion set problem is. And when you think about it, I do not think of this as a pump company, right? I really don't. And if it was, I'm the wrong person to run it, right? I'm a sort of a pharmacy guy, a systems guy. Like, I think about the entire thing from start to finish. How do I make this better for people living with diabetes? Like,
I love it.
Whether it's cheaper, easier to access, easier to get better control, easier to understand the edge cases, that's what the team is focused on. And are we where we want to be? Of course not. If we waited to be perfect, we would launch in 2052. But we want to get a product to market. We want people to start using it to tell us what, and then we're going to continue to improve it. If I told you the goal that I set out for my team, you'd probably laugh at me, but I'll tell it to you anyway. What we told the team is we want to create the smallest, highest capacity device with the most flexible algorithms that have the least required interaction that generates normoglycemia. Now, that's a cardiologist's goal. A cardiologist is like, how hard can it be? If it's closed, you open it. If it's open, you close it. But I'm obviously recognize that what I just laid out is a very high bar. And it's possible we'll never get there, but we're going to keep trying. If I was living with diabetes, I know where I would try to get to, right?
Yeah.
And I'm a little crazy, but that's where I would try to get to. So I want to help everyone else get there.
So tell me where we are in terms of release. The language here was interesting, right? It's cleared but not approved?
No, so cleared means under the 510K pathway, you get FDA clearance. Technically, approvals go for, PMAs and things like that. So we are cleared. There are a few things we have to do before we get to market. So one is we have to finish our commercial agreements with one or more CGM manufacturers, right? That's just a requirement. And, the other thing I would say, Stacey, is we're doing something that's a little bit more challenging than usual. We're actually launching a company at the same time we're launching a product, right? So we also need to build the infrastructure of the company. I need to be sure that the call centers work. I need to be sure that my CRM systems work. So we're probably looking at the second half of the year. I don't really have an exact date we're going to talk about, but second half of the year, is probably reasonable.
And then another question I got from listeners was, will you be any place that they can see you? Will you be at any conferences? I'm inviting you right now. You should come to my Mom's Night Out conferences. We have 2 this fall. I'll follow up with more information. But are there any plans yet? It sounds like to be announced.
Well, we will be at ADA.
Oh, great.
I'm comfortable to say we're going to be at ADA. I don't know if we've made a full decision yet on ADCES and some of the other conferences, but we're definitely going to start to be out in the market with things that people can play with. Our hope is that over the summer, we'll have a demonstration where you can go on a web browser and have like a device, including battery and an infusion set and the actual app, literally on a mock-up of a cell phone that's clickable, and you can actually get the experience of what it's like to change carbohydrates, what it's like to change exercise, how do you enter meals, how do you set the thing up. So it's just a way for people to start getting comfortable and understanding what we're bringing to market.
All right, I've got 2.
It's really cool.
It sounds amazing. I've got 2 quick questions for you. I'm very long here, but I really appreciate you sticking around. The first is, to that point and that very cool demo, is this Tidepool Loop app, the Tidepool Loop app that was FDA approved a while back? Are you making changes to it? You don't have to go into too much specifics. We'll do a whole other episode, I'm sure, about the software.
Our algorithm and our UI are based on the FDA cleared Loop algorithm.
Got it. And then the second question is, again, we could do a whole episode on this, I'm sure, but you started out this conversation by talking about GLP-1s, which honestly they seem like they could be great for people with type 1 diabetes, but they are not approved for people with type 1 diabetes. Are you looking at this as an insulin pump for people who have type 2 and have insulin needs? And can you just speak on that for a moment? Because it's such an underserved, it sounds silly to say it that way, but it really is a market that doesn't get a lot of attention.
Yeah. So on type 2, absolutely. In fact, we're going to be running an IDE controlled trial in type 2 starting late in the third quarter and really looking at both an algorithm. We think this is a great pump for type 2 because it holds 3 cc's. Yeah. Again, we have some future enhancements to it that could hold even more in the same shell. We have an incredible ability for type 2. The second thing is that while GLP-1s are not necessarily approved for type 1, they are being used off-label, right? And the issue is that your appetite fluctuates. So this idea of this retrospective carbohydrate change, right? If you put in that you ate and you know what, you ate and you got uncomfortable or nauseated and you need to cut back your carbs, you can do that. You're not sitting there going, oh, well, I don't want to eat anything and now I got to worry about the fact that I just got a bolus or I'm about to get a bolus or my basal's going up. Okay, just tell us you ate less and we'll cut the basal. And the machine will cut the basal rate down. I mean, it'll do it for you. It's really an interesting dynamic. I think the last thing I would say in that sense is people titrate on type 2, at least they titrate on GLP-1s. So one of the, I think, criticisms that I've heard people say about the Tidepool algorithm is that it doesn't learn. And my perspective is, you may think learning is a good thing, and learning is a good thing for humans. I'm not sure learning is a great thing for algorithms because people change, right? So you're titrating your GLP-1, your food intake goes down. You're a young woman with your menstrual periods, you're going like this, and the algorithm's always trying to catch up to you, right? You get sick, you change your exercise regimen. So I'm not saying learning is bad. Everything in life is a little bit of a trade-off. I think the flexibility and personalizability that the Loop algorithm allows them to have, but doesn't require them to use, is a nice
That's
feature.
Great. All right, I lied. I have one more question. You could obviously be happily retired. This is not easy. As you said, you're not just launching a pump or a product, you're launching a company. You've got a good team, right? You're not alone in this. Your background is in cardiology, not diabetes. Obviously, they're very much tied together. But what gets you out of bed every morning to do this? What are you excited about?
A few things. So one, you're right. I could be retired. I could be happily retired. But I could be retired. I wouldn't be happily retired. I mean, I really thrive on doing hard things and making a difference in medicine and in people's lives. And so this opportunity gives me the chance to play in both science and technology. We have an incredible device. We have an incredible pipeline. The pipeline of stuff that we have cooking up with my friends at DECA, who are amazing engineers. I mean, if anyone has seen an iBot, where stands up on two wheels and you can't knock it over, it's just incredible. What they can do is amazing. And, when we think about how, bringing groups of people together in this organization who really deeply understand living with diabetes, the market of diabetes, and what's needed, I really think we can make a difference. And this device is so unique. It's so new. It was designed and built thinking about the AIDs were coming. And I think it's incumbent on us to prove that all of the mechanical and technical advantages turn into clinical outcomes. We have to do that. And we have to prove it. I had a call with someone who said to me, goes, Alan, you're like the 19th pump in the market. It's a commodity. What do you think you're doing different? And I said, I hear you. But he goes, what's the unmet need? I said, well, let me ask you a question. What % of people with type 1 diabetes are using an AID system? The answer is 37%. So that means 63% of the people have looked at the market and said, I need something different. For people who are using an AID system, somewhere between, 7.5% and 15% of people change the system every year. So that's another big group of people who look at what's on their arm or on their belt and go, yeah, they ain't doing it for me. So to me, it feels like there's need. Now, if someone said, Alan, I want you to take the next statin to market, right? Or the next Cephomiracle antibiotic, I don't know that I need to do that. This is exciting. It's exciting because of the technology. It's exciting because of the way we're going to market. It's exciting because of the way we're thinking about literally starting at the patient, not starting at their glucose, starting at the patient or the person and saying, how do we get this device to you? How do we get you to use it in a way that is best for you? How do we make it super easy? If you do have a challenge, how do we help you solve it? Like, that's what gets me like excited. And I'm never going to make diabetes disappear. But if I can help people living with diabetes think about their diabetes the way I think about exercise, I wake up in the morning, I get it over with, right? Wake up in the morning, make sure that your battery's charged, make sure you got insulin in your pump, and just go do your day. That's kind of where I want to be.
I love it. Can you hold up the device one more time, just so I can kind of take a peek? You can't open that one, can you, or anything? It's just
yeah, I can. First of all, two things.
I'm so sorry, you guys. This is so great that he can do this.
No, it's okay. I'm not 6'9". I cannot palm a basketball. This is about 2 inches in diameter. I'll just do it again. It just twists open, right? And this is the piece that you can use over and over again. It's got the battery and the computer. And this is the piece, you can see it's about a little bit thinner than my pinky, that gets thrown away every day. So relatively low footprint of waste.
Not every day. Thrown away every day?
Every 3 days. Every 3 days.
Yeah.
Sorry about that.
That's okay.
And, hopefully longer over time. I misspoke. Sorry about that.
No, just want to make sure that I didn't misunderstand. Well, Alan, thank you so much for joining me. I hope this is the first of many conversations. I'm really excited about this, and it's always great to have another choice. And I know many of us who especially have followed Tidepool and Loop for so long are really happy to see it find a home. So we'll be talking more about that, I'm sure, in the future. But thanks so much for joining me and explaining this.
More than my pleasure. We're really excited to talk some more, and really excited to bring this to market and have people get to use it.
You're listening to Diabetes Connections with Stacey Sims.
You can find more information about the Twiist and Sequel in the show notes. Of course, diabetes-connections.com, where every episode has its own homepage. And of course, the Tidepool episode will be linked up as well, because there is so much to this software that is different. I would urge you to go check that out if you haven't listened already. And as the Twiist gets closer to launch, we will revisit with Dr. Lotvin or somebody from Sequel, and probably talk to Howard Look or somebody from Tidepool again as well. I'm really interested in watching this one. As I mentioned, I saw it in person, or I'm not sure it's exactly the same because they didn't let us take any pictures back in 2018 when I first saw it, along with the bloggers. I'd mentioned that in the interview, that we were all there in Cambridge to see this Lilly Deca pump. But in June, I'll see it in person, and I'll definitely take pictures and send you more information. One more reminder here, Mom's Night Out events won't happen again until the fall, but I'd urge you get on the list. We are opening registration very soon for Denver and Philadelphia, not far behind, and always the best pricing first. So you want to get on the list for those. And we'll be announcing our 2025 locations probably at the end of summer. This has just been so much fun. All right, thank you to my editor, John Buchanan from Audio Editing Solutions. Thank you so much for listening. I'm Stacey Sims. I'll see you back here soon. Until then, be kind to yourself.
Diabetes Connections is a production of Stacey Sims Media. All rights reserved, all wrongs avenged.
It used to be that you would have to choose between an automated insulin delivery system and the freedom of a tubeless device. Now, with Omnipod 5, you can have the best of both worlds all in one. Omnipod 5 adapts with every pod change to meet your unique insulin needs and adjusts insulin using a customized target glucose, not a range. If you're ready to ditch the multiple daily injections or send your tubed pump packing, there's never been a better time. They'll even check your insurance coverage for you. Fill out the quick online form, see if you're eligible for a free trial. Go to diabetes-connections.com and click on the Omnipod logo. For full safety risk information and free trial terms and conditions, visit omnipod.com/diabetesconnections.